Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. And today we're going to be taking a look at The Lord of the Rings, Duel for Middle-earth board game. Now, we're not going to just go through the rule book. That'd be boring. But we're going to uncover what makes this game really unique. Think forging alliances with elves, ents, even eagles, all while racing against time to either destroy the One Ring or reclaim it.
Yeah, it's a really fun game. What I think is so cool about this game is that it captures the different ways you can experience Tolkien's world. Like you can focus on that epic quest of the ring, or you could rally those different peoples of Middle-earth to your cause. You could even just be like, nope, I'm going to dominate everything.
So you're telling me there are multiple ways to win.
Oh yeah, definitely. And each path to victory really needs a different approach.
Yeah.
And that's where all the game's mechanics come in.
It's a two-player game, right? One becomes the Fellowship, and the other is Sauron.
Yep.
So how does it actually work? I've heard it uses cards and tiles, which sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah. So it's got this really neat system of chapter cards and landmark tiles. Each turn, you got to make a choice. Do you take a chapter card, which gives you different actions and abilities, or do you go for a landmark tile to control different regions on the Middle-earth map?
Interesting. Okay, so you've got these chapter cards. What do you do with them? I'm guessing different cards do different things.
Exactly. They come in different colors, and each color has a different function. So yellow cards are all about boosting your coins, which you really need because coins are important in this game. They let you buy other cards or tiles, even get you out of a tight spot if you don't have enough resources. Then there are blue cards. Those focus on getting Frodo and Sam closer to Mount Doom along that quest to the ring track. And then there are red cards, of course, for deploying your armies across Middle-earth.
So you're building your resources, moving Frodo closer to Mount Doom, and getting your forces together. What about those landmark tiles? How do those work?
The landmark tiles let you set up a presence across Middle-earth. Each tile shows a specific region, and when you claim it, you get to put a fortress there. This not only gives you control of that region, but you also get unique bonuses that can really turn the tide of the game.
This raises an important question. How do you pay for all this? All those cards, the tiles, and the armies. It can't just be a free-for-all.
No, it's not. It's all about managing your resources. And that's where the skill symbols come in. You see these symbols on most cards and tiles. They represent the resources you need to actually play them. It's like you need enough blacksmiths to build a fortress or enough warriors to go into battle.
What if you don't have the right skills? Do you just have to wait to get them?
Not necessarily. That's where your coins come in handy. If you are short on a specific skill, you can use coins to make up the difference. But spending those coins might leave you short when you need to do other stuff. So it's about thinking ahead.
So it's all about strategy then. That makes sense.
Totally. It's all about making those strategic choices.
Okay, so we've talked about cards and tiles. I remember you mentioned something called chaining earlier. What is that?
Oh yeah, chaining. It's a really cool mechanic in this game.
Yeah.
So imagine you play a card and it's got a symbol in the corner, maybe a sword or a crown or something.
Okay.
If you have a card that you played earlier with a matching symbol, then you get to play the new card for free.
So you can play a card for free.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It really makes you think ahead.
Right. You're not just thinking about the present, but also setting yourself up for free plays later on.
Well,
That's got to feel good when it works out.
oh, it totally does. And you can get some really cool combos, like when you start chaining a bunch of cards together, almost like a domino effect.
Yeah. All right, now on to alliances. Who doesn't love a good alliance, right? Especially when it comes to Middle-earth. How do those work in the game?
So alliances are a core part of Duel for Middle-earth. You know, those green chapter cards. Those are how you form alliances with all the different races of Middle-earth, The elves, the ents, the dwarves, all of them.
So to get those alliances, I'm guessing you need to collect specific cards.
You gotta collect those matching race symbols on the green cards to unlock those powerful bonuses. And what's cool is there are two ways to get alliances. You can either get a bunch of the same race symbol, or you can go for diversity and have 3 different race symbols.
That's really cool. So you're telling me it's not all about brute force, but also about getting a really diverse and powerful group together.
Yeah.
I love that. That's really how Tolkien's world worked. But what makes these alliances so powerful? What kind of bonuses are we talking about? So we've got our cards and we're building our resources and we're making these alliances. But where does the fighting happen? I'm guessing it's got to be on that cool map of Middle-earth, right?
Yep. That board in the middle with all the different regions and all the illustrations, that's where you put your armies. You fight for those good spots. And that's where the big moments happen that can change who's winning.
Hold on. You're telling me this isn't just collecting cards and stuff. There's actual battles.
Oh, yeah. And not just random fights either. The map has 7 different regions, and they all have their own feel and importance to them. You got Lothlorien, where the elves live, Rohan with those big plains, Moria, which is, well, kind of scary. And then there's Mordor, where Sauron hangs out.
Okay, I'm already thinking like a general here.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing some areas are better than others. Like if you control Mordor, that's got to be a big deal.
You're getting it. Each region is on one of those landmark tiles, and those tiles are super important if you want to control Middle-earth. It's not just about taking land, though. You got to think about which regions will help you win and which ones will mess up your opponent.
So maybe taking Mordor isn't the best idea. Maybe it's better to go for a region that gives you something you need or stops your opponent from getting something good.
Exactly. And don't forget about those special bonuses we talked about. A lot of landmark tiles have those. Like if you get Lothlorien, you get to draw 2 chapter cards and keep one of them. That's a nice little bonus.
Yeah, that's great.
And if you've got the Shire, you can even take a coin from the other player.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, but how do you get those regions in the first place? Do you just pick up the tile?
Not that easy. Remember those red chapter cards we talked about?
Yeah.
Those are how you send out your armies. They're like little figures on the board. Each card lets you put down a certain number of units in a couple of the regions.
So you're basically putting your armies all over Middle-earth trying to take those regions. What happens when your armies bump into your opponent's armies? Is it like a big free-for-all?
Pretty much. When units are in the same region, they fight. Each player takes away 1 unit at a time until only one side is left. It can get pretty tense and change things up really quickly.
So more units is good, but I bet there are other ways to get an advantage in those fights.
You bet. Remember the fortresses?
Yeah.
They're really important in battles. When there's a fight, fortresses can't be destroyed. Having a fortress in a region is huge because it's like a permanent bodyguard. Makes it way harder for the other player to take over.
The first time I played, I totally forgot about the fortresses.
Yeah.
Yeah. My opponent was taking over everything while I was busy making alliances. Learned that lesson the hard way.
Haha, happens to the best of us. It's easy to get caught up in getting troops and resources, but those fortresses are really important. They're like your anchors. They make you feel safe and make it hard for anyone to kick you out.
Okay, so you've got armies fighting and fortresses holding down the fort. What about the Quest of the Ring? We haven't talked about that in a while. How does that fit in?
Right. While all that's happening on the main board, Frodo and Sam are still going to Mount Doom. Remember the blue chapter cards? That's how you move them on that Quest of the Ring track.
But it's not just getting to the end first, is it? You said something about bonus spots before.
Oh yeah. The Quest of the Ring track is full of surprises. There are these bonus spaces that can either help you out or make things harder for your opponent. It makes things exciting and unpredictable.
Okay, I gotta know.
Yeah.
What kind of bonuses are we talking about? Give me an example.
Okay, so let's say you land on the Gandalf space. You can switch any 2 chapter cards that are in the middle of the table. That can completely change the game.
Bro.
Like maybe you really need a certain card or you want to mess with what your opponent is doing.
Sneaky. I like it. What other bonus spaces are there?
There's the Gollum space. That one can be good or bad. If you land there, you got to get rid of a random chapter card. That can be bad if it's a card you need, but it can also make you think of new ways to play.
So it's risky, but it might open up new possibilities.
Exactly. And then there's Shelob's Lair. That one's a bit scary.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good.
If you land on that one, you got to flip over the top card of the discard pile and do what it says, even if it's bad. It's a gamble. You might be lucky and it's nothing bad. Or you might get hit with something nasty.
So the Quest of the Ring is like its own adventure. It's not just about moving your guys. You got to deal with all these crazy things that can happen that can affect the whole game.
Exactly. And remember, there are 3 ways to win in Duel for Middle-earth. The quest is just one of them. You could also win by taking over all of Middle-earth. Or you could try to get all the different races on your side.
So even if you're not winning the race to Mount Doom, you can still win the game.
For sure. And that's what makes it so cool. It's not just about fighting all the time. Sometimes being sneaky and making alliances is just as good.
I love that there are so many different ways to play. It seems like there's something for everyone in Duel for Middle-earth. No matter how you like to play, there's a way to win. Right, so we've looked at the map and how those battles work, and we've seen those bonus spaces on the Quest of the Ring. But how do you win this game? We know there are 3 ways to win, but what should we think about for each one?
Well, let's start with the simplest one, conquering Middle-earth.
Yeah.
To do that, you need to be in all 7 regions at the end of the game. That means you need a fortress, or at least one of your units in each region.
So it's all about covering the map with your color. Sounds easy enough. But something tells me it's not just about grabbing as much land as you can.
You're right. It's trickier than it looks. First off, you need to watch your money. Each landmark tile costs coins, and those get more expensive as the game goes on, so you can't just go crazy taking over land without thinking about it.
So you got to balance things out.
Uh,
Take over more land, but also make sure you've got enough coins for those chapter cards so you can do other stuff, like getting more units or building fortresses.
that's it. That's where you need to be smart. Pick some areas over others. Maybe go for regions that give you something good, like extra coins or skill symbols. Or try to stop your opponent from getting regions that give them bonuses.
So I'm seeing how this way of winning makes you really think about your moves. It's not just about attacking. It's about making good choices about where to go and using your resources wisely.
Yeah, and even if you take over all 7 regions, the game's not over. You still got to defend those places from your opponent.
Yeah.
That means having enough units to protect everything, and sometimes you might even have to pull back.
So even if you want to conquer Middle-earth, you can't just forget about everything else, like alliances or the quest for the ring. Everything's connected.
That's right. All right, let's talk about the second way to win. Getting all the different races of Middle-earth on your side. It's less direct, but can be just as effective, especially if you like building a diverse team.
That's the one with the green chapter cards, right?
Yeah,
You said each card is a different race, and if you get matching race symbols, you get good bonuses.
right. It's not just about collecting those cards, though. You got to understand how those bonuses can actually help you win. Some alliances give you extra skill symbols, which is always helpful.
Right.
Others give you bonuses in battles, making your army stronger. And some give you special things you can do to mess with your opponent's plans.
So it's like making a special deck in a card game.
Yeah.
You got to find the right combo of alliances that work together to beat your opponent or give you an advantage.
Exactly. And remember, there's a bonus for having lots of different alliances. If you have at least 3 different race symbols, you get even more bonus tokens, which means even better bonuses.
Okay, I'm starting to see why this way to win can be so satisfying. You're not just winning fights, you're making these alliances and using their special abilities to control how the game goes.
Yeah, and it really matches how things are in Tolkien's world. Different races coming together to fight a common enemy. Now let's talk about that race to Mount Doom, the quest of the ring.
Yeah, that one's really exciting. It's such a tense part of the game. It must be so hard to win that way.
Oh, it can be. Remember, it's not just about getting Frodo and Sam to the end quickly. You also have the Nazgul chasing them.
Right.
And don't forget those random bonus spaces. They can help you, or they can slow you down.
Those bonus spaces definitely make things more exciting, and you never know what's going to happen. It's like a whole other game within the main game.
Yeah. And that's why this way of winning makes you think differently. Do you play it safe and use those bonus spaces to your advantage? Or do you take chances and try to get to Mount Doom super fast before the Nazgul catch up?
And even if you get to Mount Doom first, it's not over, is it? Your opponent could still win.
Nope. It's tense right till the very end. And this goes back to what we said before. Even if you're focused on the quest, you can't ignore everything else in the game.
So you might need to get some alliances to help you win the race or control some areas that give you resources or something. Everything matters.
Exactly. And that's what makes The Lord of the Rings, Duel for Middle-earth, such a great game. There are 3 ways to win, and they all have their own challenges and rewards. But no matter how you want to win, you got to be strategic and adapt to what happens. And you got to use every opportunity you get.
It's not just about battles or quests. It's about making choices.
Right.
And those choices affect everything in the game, even who wins in the end.
Yeah. So as we finish up this deep dive, I'll leave you with this. Would you rather be the Fellowship fighting to save everyone? Or would you be Sauron trying to get the One Ring and rule Middle-earth? The choice is yours.
We've seen how the game works, and we've looked at the map, we've learned about the strategies. Now it's your turn to try out The Lord of the Rings, Duel for Middle-earth. You might find yourself making alliances, leading armies, and deciding the fate of Middle-earth. Thanks for joining us, everybody.